Taylor here, and I'm so excited to see you on another So What Wednesday episode. So, I first want to come to you with the results of the poll that we took in last Wednesday's video. If you remember, I had mentioned that my friend and I were having an argument over if you should sew with shoes or barefoot. And I'm so grateful for all the answers that you guys commented in the comments on last week's video because I won. Most of you guys like to sew barefoot, and so I thought that that was cool. I no longer feel completely strange. And Barefoot Sewers Unite, right? I will say that everybody who commented that they like to sew with shoes did say that they preferred sewing with shoes just so that they didn't have the chance of stepping on a needle or a pin on the floor, which I totally give you that. I just like living on the edge. Okay, so let's get into this week's topic. So I don't know why, but this week I was thinking about mitered corners. Now, you probably don't know what that word means. Go ahead and let me know in the comments below if you know what a mitered corner is as we're starting this video. No cheating. You can't comment that as we get to the end or the explanation. I'm super excited to see how many of you guys know what the word mitered corner means and how many don't. But I'm going to jump right into the explanation. If you know what a mitered corner is, you are probably going to think of something like on this towel. So I'm sure all of you guys have seen towels like this in the grocery store, Walmart. They're super chic now. People use towels like this for decorating for all different times of the year. But the way that they finish these corners on the back end is usually with a mitered corner. This one is not, but what a mitered corner is one of those corners that has the seam that goes diagonally instead of like straight out to the side like so. So I actually have a really good way to show this to you. They also actually use mitered corners on suit jackets. So I'm going to take this off of my hanger here to try to show you guys. We're going to be looking at the arm here, and right here where this pleat is, where the flap comes open, let me readjust. There's a really big mitered corner. Let me see if I can get it so that you guys can see that really well. Do you see the stitch line, how it goes diagonally from the corner here? Oh, there we go, like that. That is a mitered corner. Now, the reason you would miter a corner is so that you don't have like an awkward flap on either end. You know how like if you fold over and you sew and then there's like the ends don't quite line up? This mitered corner takes care of all of that because it makes it so that all the raw edges are inside. Now, I'm going to explain that to you guys a tiny bit better as we head over to the ironing board, where I'm going to show you how you can make a mitered corner and why you would. I'll show you what it looks like if you don't use a mitered corner and then how to actually make one. And I see that Becky commented, Becky, you're making a baby blanket. That's one of the funnest things to make. I love making baby blankets because they're small and still a blanket. I love blankets, but they take a long time to make big ones. And yes, with those satin bias, you do need to do mitered corners. Okay, so give me a second here, and I'm going to move this camera over to hopefully where you can see my ironing board a little bit close up. So So I'm just gonna move this over here. Let's see. Hey, you're closer to the ironing board. Now let's see if we can get it to go straight down here. Maybe not quite. Okay, there we go. You guys can see my ironing board pretty well. So I'm going to grab a random piece of fabric, and here at Sew What Box, we are actually starting to think about Christmas. So I've got this Christmas fabric here, and I'm just going to show you really quick how you would typically think about ironing over a raw edge. So typically, right, if we're going to hem this edge, we would press over. I'm going to press over about 1 inch. And then in order to hide this raw edge, right, we would press over 1 more time. And then hem along the bottom. But what happens when I also have to hem over here? If I do the same process, fold over about 1 inch, and then fold over again. You can see here I've got this flap that may or may not line up with the edge of the fabric here. Now, that is okay to do, but as we switch this over to this side, maybe you can see that I've got some of this back flap that's sticking over the top of this front. Now, it's going to be a good finish, but not as finished as we can if we use a mitered corner. And a mitered corner is actually a super easy thing to do. It sounds kind of crazy and stuff, but it's super easy. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. But first, I need to show you guys a word from our sponsor. Okay, so that was kind of a cool video. I actually just made it. But if you haven't heard of Sew What Box, that kind of gave you a little bit of an outline. Basically, it's a monthly shipment, like a sewing club, but you get stuff sent to your door, and we include fabrics like this Christmas fabric that I'm using right now, fun projects, and brand new tools and threads each month. So it's a super fun thing to join. All right, now let's get back to seeing how we do mitered corners. All right, so in order to do a mitered corner, we first do need to press this like I showed you earlier, but then we're going to unroll this. Now, once we unroll this, you can see that there are some lines that that were formed by our iron. And here I'm going to just kind of draw these lines out for you so you can see them better in the video. Okay, so here we have our little, it looks like a tic-tac-toe board. Now that's perfect. We're going to use these lines in order to know where to fold over this direction. So if you were happening to make a mitered corner where you only wanted to hem like this, rather than folding over the second time on both sides, maybe you would do this if you had serged or pinking sheared the edges so that they won't unravel. You would take here and you would fold this corner in like so, iron it flat, and then fold these two edges over the top. Now we'll iron this flat again, and you can see here that we now have made our fold diagonally with all this extra inside. So that is the simplest way to do a mitered corner. But if we are trying to do a mitered corner where we want these raw edges encased with the two folds, we're going to move this down to this edge of this square. So where these two inside folds come together. We'll line those up and then press. Once that's done, we will fold once and then fold the second time on this side. I like to give this a good press as well so that it will hold together as I do these other folds. We'll do one fold, two fold, and when we do this, these two edges right here should magically meet up in the center. Now, if you look at this, you can see we still have this raw edge right here. So what we're going to do is now we're going to open this up, and you can see here where we'll end up cutting this off. So if this is folded together, you can see where this fold covers this raw edge. We're going to remember that and open this up. If you were paying attention, this whole square here, this whole square part is covered when we get everything folded up. So we're going to cut diagonally like this, right on the top of this square. So now I have a piece that looks like this. Watch now as I fold this together. And now we have no raw edges peeking out. What you'll do now, once you've gotten to this step, is all you have to do is top stitch all the way along here. And this will hold down your entire mitered corner and leave a really nice finish on your corner. One thing that I actually just learned today about mitered corners is that you can actually use your machine to stitch these two diagonal edges together before you do this. Now, that is something that you would want to do with a larger hem like this, and you can do it by just unfolding this, then flipping it to the right side, folding this together and line up this diagonal fold, and then you're just going to sew along here where this diagonal fold would have been on the front. Now this is a little bit tricky to think about this way. I'm going to put a pin in here so that I can kind of show you how it works when we flip it back the other way. So we're going to pretend that that pin is my machine stitching. And then we'll just poke the corner out like you normally would for anything square that you sew. And then these two edges fold in. Like so, and then you don't have an awkward hole here that can get caught. Now again, you don't need to do this. You don't need to sew that diagonal. All you really need to do is top stitch these raw edges. But if you have a really large, thick hem here that you're trying to do, sometimes sewing that hole together can help. Awesome. So I hope that that was super informative for you guys. I had a lot of fun talking to you about the topic of mitered corners. And if you guys are watching this in the replay or think of a question that you have about mitered corners or the video that we did this week, go ahead and leave it in a comment below and I will get back to answer those questions for you. But otherwise, I think that I'm going to leave you with that pearl of wisdom for today. And I hope that you guys get a chance to sew some mitered corners over the next week.